Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our biweekly press conference that we have each Wednesday after our City Council meeting to go over some of the discussions from that night's meeting. And then I'd also like to make a few announcements each time we meet about things going on in the city. First, I'd like to say again, I think I said this last night, but I'd like to thank the council, the city employees, the citizens, and organizations and individuals throughout the community for their love and support towards me and my family during this time. As many of you know, my mother passed away last week, and it's been a difficult time for us, obviously, and we appreciate your continued prayers in that area. I also want to thank all the citizens and folks in the area who have volunteered and gathered supplies and things to take to our neighboring communities who have been suffering from the tornadoes. We announced last night that the city is still in the process of collecting items. If you would like to send some to the area, we know that we have been in touch with leadership in those towns, and many of them have a lot of things right now, but they know that they're going to need to continue receiving things over time. So they're asking people to not just do it right now, but to remember to do it in the months and weeks to come, because there was some real devastation in those areas, and we want to continue to keep those families in our thoughts and prayers. And again, thank you to all of our citizens who have been so kind in helping those in need. We have a lot of events going on in the Columbus area again this weekend and in the coming weeks. There are a couple of things I would encourage people to go to www.preservecolumbus.com and look at the lunch and learns and things that will be going on this weekend. There's a lot of great educational talks of the history of Columbus that I think people would find interesting, and I encourage y'all to attend those events. Catfish in the Alley will be April the 21st through the 22nd. If you look at Visit Columbus, they've got quite an impressive blues lineup for those 2 days. And then, of course, the award-winning Tales from the Crypt that's put on by MSMS will be April the 12th, 14th, and 19th. And the 21st in Friendship Cemetery at 7. We had a wonderful alums from the W in town last week celebrating homecoming. Next weekend, we will be the graduates of Mississippi School for Math and Science will return to Columbus to celebrate homecoming there. So we're always excited about hosting alums from the university and from MSMS. I would encourage people, as I mentioned last week, we're very eager to keep our city clean, and which helps us be prosperous. So I would encourage people to continue to help us pick up in the neighborhoods and the areas where you see things on the road that shouldn't be there and should be in trash cans. We had a lady this morning stop by to pick up Possumtown trash cans to help in her neighborhood, and we appreciate everybody being active in that area. Last night, we also we did swear in 2 new police officers, and then we also were introduced to 4 officers who are headed to the police academy. So we're continue to hope to see our numbers improve at the police department, the number of officers that we have to help us deal with some of the serious issues that we're dealing with public safety in the community. Also, we talked last night. We had 1 new member go onto the tree board committee. I want to tell the tree board that that committee has not met in quite some time, and I'm anxious to get that group together in the near future. We've had some issues with trees in the community that I think we need to discuss. I appreciate the people who are serving on that committee, and we'll be reaching out to encourage that group to meet very soon. A lot of our committees that people serve on have standing meeting dates that they have, and I would encourage all of our committees, if they're not doing that, let's begin to do that. We appreciate all of our citizens who give of their time to serve on the boards that the city offers. It's a great way for citizens to get involved, and we want to make sure that the city is as helpful to helping these groups be successful. The big topic of discussion last night was our funding for Probst Park. And I want to talk about that just a little bit. I am a big proponent of improving Probst Park. There was a lot of passionate debate last night on if the city should take out a loan to go with the money that we have in place that's earmarked for Probst Park. As you know, we got a 10-year extension on our 2%, which is earmarked for Probst Park. And here's where the city is. As you all know, we do not have a stellar record of being the best stewards of our finances. We have a debt, we are carrying a debt load now that we are beginning to reduce to a more healthy level. I think, and we'll caution the council to always be very mindful of that going forward. What I do want everybody to hear, though, is that me as mayor, and I think every member of our council, is very passionate about offering quality services for the children of Columbus in Probst Park. I would also, and I've said this many times, one of the reasons that we're in this situation is because in 2017, the city and county decided not to work together with Parks and Rec anymore. I, as a citizen at that time, not an elected official, thought that was a very bad idea. And I think that there are people in the community that still see that, and I think a lot of the predictions that were made at that time have come to fruition. The size of our city and county is too small to try to run separate park systems. 40%, at least 40% of the citizens of Lowndes County live in the city, therefore we pay county taxes. It still seems strange to me that when you're part of a county in the city, you're not working together on everything you can possibly for the betterment of the citizens, and I think this is one of the situations that we're in now. Now, having said that, we can't dwell on that. We need to move forward in the most positive way that we can. I just always like to try to remind people of how we came to some of these situations that we're facing. I am for doing everything we can to improve Probst Park. I think that is a way, if done correctly, can help revitalize that area of the city in a major way. We have done surveys from the community on what people would like to see at Probst Park. The newspaper has written several editorials cautioning us not to move forward too quickly on spending money in the park if we're not rethinking how the park can best serve the entire community. And I think we need to take all these things seriously as we're moving forward. The debate right now is, do we try to take a loan out to do all the baseball fields that we have designed in phase 1 of the park improvements, and how taking out a potential loan of $2 million to go with the money that we have in place will affect the debt load of the city, and how would that impact the future plans of the park. These are all good questions that we need to think through. Again, I appreciate everybody that was at the meeting last night and showed their passion for the park and for the kids, and I share it. But I will say on behalf of the council that we have a lot of serious decisions that we're trying to make from a financial standpoint. We have an amphitheater that is not being used, that has been sitting vacant for years. And we have roofs at the the police department, and with the where our other offices are in the municipality complex that need to be replaced. That's just a few of the major cost issues that we have, not to even mention the infrastructure problems that we have in the streets. So when we're making major decisions like that, we need to really consider all those facets before we go in and make an emotional decision. I want to stress and will stress, I am for Probst Park. I believe that there is a positive future there. I will also remind everybody that the city and county, which I think was a positive move, set money aside to work together to do an assessment of our park system and their parks, have professionals come in and tell us that are experts in this area, what can we do to work together, whether it's coming back together or not, but working separately, but complementing one another in the efforts that we're doing in our parks. And I think that's a wise thing to do. Everybody may not completely agree with how we move forward on this, but I think that we can all agree that if we make bad decisions from a financial standpoint, not only this decision for the park, but it affects everything the city does. And so, you know, it's not perfect down there right now, and there's some things that we should be doing. Again, I would just caution everyone to take a deep breath, let our CFO do the research with potential loans that we could possibly get. We may be able to find something that works well for this decision. You know, one of the things that we've talked about is if we don't do all the fields right now, the cost will, you know, increase as we go forward. There's also a whole side of the debate that thinks that we don't need that many fields. And I just think that it's wise when we sit down and keep our emotions in check and really seriously delve into how this is going to best affect the children and the citizens of our city long term. I am going to continue to try to do everything I can to bring the city and county back together in this area. I've not been shy about that, and I know we don't all agree on that, but I think that would be the best move for the city and the county, we should be considered one. And you know, and I'll be honest with you, the decision that was made when we separated, it segregated our kids in a lot of ways. We're seeing that in our soccer complex. You know, the debate that's gone on with that. And I think that as adults and leaders in the community, we need to use a serious mindset to deal with these issues because they're going to have a long-term impact on the city in whichever direction that we go. So I've had good conversations with the council members after the meeting last night, some today. I know they're taking this very seriously. They appreciate and as do I very much, the strong emotions that the citizens feel about Probst Park. But what I'm just asking is that everybody take a deep breath and make sure we've got all that facts and information in front of us when we make these decisions, and let's not make decisions from an emotional standpoint. I appreciate the passion, I do. I understand, and I think we should listen with an open mind when people are very passionate about the park and how it can impact our kids. There was a gentleman last night that said that by investing in the park, we're helping keeping the kids from going into situations that could be dangerous for them and others. I totally agree with that. But I just think we need to make sure that when we invest in the park, we're doing it wisely and something that we can sustain long term. That's another big concern of mine. All the great things we want to do with the park over time is wonderful, but how do you sustain it? One of the reasons the park is in the condition that it's in right now is the city has not had the finances to maintain it at the level that it is. I also think, and I've talked to Greg about this, that we need to have a strategic plan from the park. If we're going to have these types of improvements down there, we need to have a plan of how we're going to have people using the park. What kind of resources can we expect from the park to help us maintain and grow it? So when we do this focus on the park, it's going to require everybody to step up their game for the city in making sure that we're able to keep a quality fields and other activities there. We've got a group from Mississippi State right now, an MBA class that's looking at how could you potentially have an area at the park where people could put in and do kayaking and canoeing. This would be a private enterprise, not something the city would take on, but that's a creative way. I don't know if many of you are familiar with pickleball, but it's the rage. And I get contacts constantly about turning some pickleball courts in down there. We don't really have any in this city. I think we have one at EMCC out at Line Hill, and I think the YMCA strips off a court. But there are some things like that that we could do, I think, that could begin to bring interest in the park as well. So I think we just have to really make sure that we're thinking this all the way through. And again, I'm going to say it another time for emphasis. The council, all the council and the mayor are concerned about the park and the children that use the park and the adults that use the park and the future of the park. I am not one of those naysayers that thinks that that cannot be an area that we should invest in. I truly believe that it is. And I think there's data to back up when you invest in quality of life projects like that, that it can improve the whole area of the city where it is located. It can bring back an area like that that has not gotten the attention in the past. I truly believe that, and I don't want anybody to think that the city is not committed to trying to make improvements at Probst Park. So with that, we did not have any executive committee meeting last night on any topics. That was fairly quiet. Joe, are there any questions?
No, sir.
We have some media here. Do y'all have any questions?
I have some questions about a few things. Can you talk a little bit about the city's decision to support the celebration at the airport?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because that was a very positive event last night. I don't know how many citizens have been out to the Columbus, and it is the Columbus Lounge Airport, but that is a historic site that has great potential, I think, for the city. And I think celebrating the 70th, and is it the 70th, I think, anniversary, is a great way to have more people realize what we have at the airport. The naming in honor of the Tuskegee Airman that lived in Columbus. He was born in Alabama, but had a career here and a business here in Columbus. Is Lieutenant Colonel Alva Temple is just a great way to celebrate his life and success, and to also be a role model to many in our community. I was pleased that the city and the county came together for the Tuskegee Airman Rise Above presentation. I would encourage people to go to the website and look at that if you're not familiar with it. It is extraordinary. I think it's a wonderful learning opportunity for our community. I highly encourage the public schools and private schools in the city and county to coordinate for trips to see this and take advantage of it. It's been mentioned that this particular show has been, a presentation has been at the Air Base before, and it was last year. I didn't get a chance to see it when I was out there for that event, but people that did tell me that it was just extraordinary. This opportunity here will open it up for more people. It's more difficult to get on the base to see things like this, but this will open it up to a whole new audience, I think. So I'm very pleased that the city and county are working together on it, and happy to see the improvements that are going on out at the airport.
I know you guys hired some new officers last night, and 4 new officers in. Do you know how many officers you guys have right now on the rolls?
I would still say we're in the mid-40s. Yeah, because we've had some departures as well.
And this question is just from a tip that we got today. Has there been any kind of pay cut for the officers over at CPD?
No. Okay. They all got raises. Everybody in the city got a raise. Well, all the city employees did.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't have to take a pay cut to pay for this additional assistant chief or anything like that?
No.
Switching gears again on you, can you talk about
I can speak to that. We were very appreciative of our local delegation working together for the 2% extension for 10 years. That was a huge accomplishment. As you know, we were seeking $4 million for the amphitheater. It was in a bill that passed the House in the tourism bill, but it was taken out on the Senate side, unfortunately. The Redevelopment Authority, which is also a part of Columbus, had a $6 million ask in for the infrastructure work down in, and they ended up getting $3 million for that, and are also seeking federal dollars to help complete that. The positive thing about that is that there is very close to making some announcements for that will be very positive. And so it's, while we were disappointed on the amphitheater, we did have a lot of support on the House side for it, and we really appreciate that. I was particularly disappointed because there is a lot of money in Jackson right now. And I know that there's an amphitheater on the coast that got more funding. You know, there's been a lot of debate about that amphitheater. Is it in the right location? Is it not? How much money, how much skin in the game does the city have? That type of thing. Well, I would argue that the city has a lot of skin in the game trying to maintain that albatross that sits over there without the funding to move forward. But again, this is one of those situations where you have to pivot again. And one of the things that I think we have looked at and we need to be more serious looking at is if there is a public-private possibility that we can work on, where there could be private investment that the city could lease or something to be able to move that amphitheater forward. Let me tell you, and I think the citizens who have been naysayers about it and continue to be, were also, in many cases, naysayers about the Riverwalk and other projects. And I get it. I mean, everybody's not going to agree on everything. But we have had, since I've been in office, we've taken several political leaders out to see it that had not seen it before. We've taken private investors to look at it. And every time they go out there, their first comment is, wow, I did not expect it to look this good. The council and I toured a amphitheater in Brandon when we were down for the MML. It is twice the size of ours, but I don't think it looked nearly as good as ours, nor is it as unique as ours sitting on the river where it is. Once the bridge is complete, and we finish that area, people will be able to pull up on their boats. There are people who are interested in investing out there to where it could be, and I know it's, you know, a lot of people argue that it's in a bad place because it's industrial. Well, you can have industrial and entertainment in the same area. Here's the deal. These are the cards we have. And so we have to do the best thing we can to be successful there, because it will be successful for the community. I have no doubt in my mind that it will be. And a lot of professionals who have looked at it that have experience in these areas agree. So yes, it was a disappointment, but it's not going to keep us from trying to move forward. We will be very aggressive in trying to get the funding that we need. Again, we're very excited about what's going on with the redevelopment area. I'm a big proponent of that as well. I think there was room in Jackson for both, and unfortunately it didn't turn out that way. But you can't wallow in that. You got to figure out how to move forward, and we will. Yeah.
federal, you said they were looking for some federal money as well, the CRA, do you know what that funding source is?
I wrote a letter of support to Hyde Smith's office and to Trent Kelly's office for federal support. I can't remember. I have to go back and look and tell you which. Do you know what to see what program it would be? But yes.
Okay. And speaking of.
And I will say this, and I've mentioned this before, when we've had people from Washington here, when we had people down last summer for looking at, when they came down to look at what we were trying to do with our blight program, we drove, and that was somebody from Senator Wicker's office. We drove them by and showed them the area down there and was saying that we were, they needed funding to help, bring that together. So we've been talking about that before this now too.
Do you know when the work on the bridge is going to start, roundabout?
It's got to start within the next.
It's late April is the best.
Late April is what we're. It can't come soon enough for us, late April. And then they said how many months would it be to complete?
120 or 140 days.
120 to 140 days, yeah.
Are they just struggling with weather delays?
I'm sorry?
Is it weather delays?
Well, no, it's just they're working out a few things as far as entry to the site and.
We had a pre-construction meeting just several days ago.
Yeah.
That's when they told us that they plan to start late April.
Yeah, and it's logistical primarily for them, and yeah.
That's it for me. That's all I got.
Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your week, and check out all the events. Am I still on?
Yes, sir.
Check out all the events that are coming up. There's one in the coming weeks too that the Preservation Society is having with the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians out at Plymouth Bluff, which proves to be very educational. We're also encouraging students. The school can send kids to that for free, and we encourage the schools to participate in that as well. These are very good educational programs that are being brought to our area that is primarily being pulled together by volunteers in the community, and so it helps bring tourism to the city. So I encourage our citizens to be as proactive as supporting those programs as well. And again, go to the website of Visit Columbus for the events as well. Okay, thank you.